Boredom begins to creep in the stagecoach as Warren stares out the window, lost in thought. Ruth stirs, breaking the silence with an abrupt question.
I know we only met one time before, and I don't want to imply any undue intimacy, he begins, before cutting to the point. But you still got it?
Warren raises an eyebrow. Got what?
The Lincoln letter.
Warren confirms, and what follows is a quintessential Tarantino exchange, dripping with tension and wit as Ruth prods Warren to show him the letter. Warren obliges, and Ruth pulls out his reading glasses and reads it silently, his face shifting with emotion. Across from him, Daisy and Warren share a quick glance. Daisy's expression is laced with skepticism, watching in disbelief as Ruth displays genuine emotion over a mere letter. Meanwhile, Warren wears a look of subtle tension, as if he's trying to get away with something.
Old Mary Todd's calling. I guess it must be time for bed. Old Mary Todd. That part gets me.
Ruth murmurs, visibly moved. Warren smiles knowingly. It gets me too. Ruth, still holding on to the sentiment, decides to show the letter to Daisy. She wears an expression of disdain and annoyance as he turns to her and sneers.
Do you know what this is, tramp?
Another moment of blatant and unrepentant misogyny from the bounty hunter.
It's a letter from Lincoln to him.
He explains, detailing how Warren and Lincoln were pen pals. It's an attempt to bridge the racial chasm between Daisy and Warren, a futile effort to melt the ice in her heart. Instead, Daisy spits directly onto the letter in pure revulsion. Warren reacts instantly, punching Daisy so hard that she flies backwards, dragging Ruth with her as they tumble out of the stagecoach and into the snow. Both of them roll into the powder, coming to rest as Obie hastily brings the coach to a stop. We cut to a shot overhead, Daisy and Ruth laying in the snow, Ruth momentarily looking like he's making a snow angel. He groans and rolls over.
I'd like to rip my goddamn arm off.
A darkly comedic foreshadowing for much later in the film. Warren steps out of the stagecoach, and Ruth, momentarily unchaining himself from Daisy, throws a handful of snow in her face before Warren spits on her. Warren retrieves his letter, dusting off the spit-laden page. Ruth, still reeling, snaps at Warren.
I didn't bring this tramp just up the mountain just for you to break her neck outside of Red Rock.
Warren fires back.
You're the one that gave my goddamn letter. I didn't give it to her. I gave it to you.
Daisy, never missing a chance to provoke, turns to Ruth and sneers.
That nigga would like to bust my jaw.
Ruth doesn't flinch.
That nigger is going to stomp your ass to death. And when he does, I'm going to sit back on that wagon wheel and watch and laugh.
Turning to Warren, he asks,
Is it all right?
Referring to the letter. Warren sighs.
She ain't helping none, but it's fine.
Daisy taunts.
Is that how niggers treat their ladies?
Warren doesn't hesitate.
You ain't no goddamn lady.
He throws a handful of snow in her face and walks past her, back towards the stagecoach. Suddenly, Obie calls from the wagon.
There's another fella up the road.
Ruth's eyes narrow as he turns to Daisy.
Is that the surprise you got planned for me and Dick?
He knows Daisy has something up her sleeve. Daisy plays coy.
Maybe the surprise is I'm tired of running.
Ruth scoffs.
You're facing a rope, tramp. Ain't nobody getting tired of running from that.
Daisy shrugs, almost playful.
You might be surprised, John.
Ruth steps closer, his tone sharpening.
If you're counting on surprising me, Daisy, don't count on it.
He jabs a finger in her face before leaving her behind in the snow. Daisy, unbothered, sticks her tongue out to catch a snowflake like a mischievous child. Warren and Ruth stand side by side, watching as the shadowy figure approaches in the blizzard. He looks like a mere speck in the distance. Ruth, ever suspicious, mutters,
There's sure a whole lot of fellas on the mountain during the blizzard.
Warren, unfazed, quips, Seeing as I'm half of them fellas, yeah, there seems to be a lot of us. Ruth isn't satisfied.
You know him?
Warren shrugs. Maybe, maybe not. I wasn't expecting nobody. That's all Ruth needed to hear. He levels his rifle at Warren.
This changes things, son.
His tone is almost apologetic, yet firm.
I don't trust you.
A hilarious exchange follows, revealing that one of Warren's bounties, Reverend Roy McCracken, whom Warren shot in the back for killing his partner and trying to steal his horse. A detail that he curiously hasn't mentioned up until now. Ruth, still skeptical, hands Warren a pair of handcuffs.
Since I don't know who's working with who, you're going to be in chains.
As the black-cloaked figure approaches, Ruth commands him to hand over his weapons to OB and approach slowly. The man is identified as Chris Mannix. Chris, all charm and southern hospitality, asks,
I'm sorry, do I know you, my friend?
They go back and forth, and we learn that Chris's father was Erskine Mannix, leader of the infamous Mannix Marauders. Chris spins a tale about his horse stepping into a gopher hole, breaking his leg, and forcing him to put him down. He then claims that he's the new sheriff of Red Rock. Ruth calls horseshit immediately. Chris recognizes Ruth and Warren, misidentifying Ruth as Bob Ruth and Warren as the nigger with the head. Realizing that the bounty hunters have a financial interest in keeping him alive, he grins. Ruth, though suspicious, lets him in begrudgingly. We get a little bit more witty back and forth ensues as Chris refuses to be handcuffed, blackmailing Ruth by threatening to tell the town that their new sheriff was left to freeze to death through the driver OB. Ruth, exasperated, relents, returning his weapons and uncuffing Warren, deducing that Mannix would never work with this nigger-hating son of a gun. Ruth offers Warren a deal. I'll help you protect your 8,000 if you help me protect my 10. They shake on it, a reluctant partnership forged in mutual interest. Chris, now fully enjoying himself, smirks. Ain't love grand? Y'all want to lay on the ground and make snow angels together? He says as he knocks the snow off his hat with a grin.